Legends say hundreds of years ago, an Algonquin chief struck a maple tree with his stone axe. Clear sap flowing from the gash in the tree and decided to collect it in a wooden pail. She boiled meat in the sap for the evening meal, and at supper time, both the chief and his wife were surprised at how sweet the meat tasted.
We're going to go do a tree over there.
Okay.
Okay, just take it out. There's the top.
Do I just stick it in the hole?
Put it in the hole, yeah. Hammer it in a little bit with a hammer. Great. Put a bucket on. We'll come back in maybe half an hour. It's cold up here. I have it set up though that the sap will go into these two when I have the reverse osmosis machine running, when we have a lot of sap, because some days you could be getting out of this bush maybe 10,000 gallons of sap in one day. The sap will come down from upstairs and go through a lot of the different filters. There's a membrane back in here, and it squeezes the sap through this membrane, and the sugar has more of a difficult time getting through these small membranes, and then it would separate it into water or sweeter sap.
The operation that you've seen so far from the outside, the area is showing you, is very labor intensive. Once we get in, the sap arrives at the sugar shack, it becomes a little more of a refined operation and not quite as much work. Terry has already explained to you how the sap comes into the evaporator. Take a look quickly inside.
Goodness.
That's where everything is converted from sap to syrup. The more dense it becomes, the higher the boiling point becomes. So we determine the consistency by going to about 107, 108 degrees. So then we go through a filter system. This is the first filter point. It goes into this tank where it's then finished on this little window. Pull it up to the light. And they'll tell you that the consistency of that syrup is only 60%. So it still has to boil in the finishing tank until it arrives at 66%. And at that point, it's maple syrup.
So the syrup comes over in the tubing.
Where is this coming from?
It comes right from the evaporator where Peter was finishing it off in the finishing stove in the filter. And then it's pumped over and it goes directly into these tanks. And it's boiled at about 180 degrees. Therefore, no mold or anything will form inside the bottles.
The production of maple syrup is a great example of an industrial process that has a very low environmental impact. Driving a tractor through the bush may cause minor erosion in the forest, and burning fossil fuels to heat the evaporator and transport the finished product contributes to global warming. Many of the products you use are the result of separating mixtures and solutions. What impact do they have on society and the environment?